Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how we can create these patterns or lines with the help of OSL. The way we create this line in OSL is with the help of Modulo or mod operator. Before we proceed, let's briefly understand mod operator. Mod operator performs division, but instead of quotient, we get first remainder as an output. Like 4 divided by 2, we get 2 as an answer, but 4 mod 2, we get 0 as it's the first remainder. Same way, we can find mod output for array of points. Let's say I have 10 points on a line from 0.0 to 0.9 and I mod each point with 0.2. We get a pattern of 0 and 0.1, or we can say 5 partitions of zeros or 0.1s. Mod operator is very powerful operator and can be used in many scenarios. In our case, I'm going to use with noise or gradient ramp. I will also use few other operators of OSL along with mod operator to create our example. So let's start. So let's visually create or let's visualize modular operator in a very simple way. So I create a plane. I say let's say 150 by 150. Just need to just visualize this. I just have this map over here. Let's create a physical material app, and we'll have gradient ramp as a color map. Assign this material, and you can see we get a gradient from 0 to 1, right? Now if I want 10 pieces, let's say I want 2 partitions, how can I do? Well, we saw before, right, with Modulo. So we can find Modulo in OSL math float, and we can say Modulo, assign this one to this, and we got this. Right now, if I want 2 partitions, I would say 0.5, and you see we get 2 partitions. If I say I want 5 partition, I go 0.2, and I get 5 partition. Now I'm getting 5 partitions of 0 to 0.2, and when it comes to 0.2, the remainder is again 0, so it goes from 0 to again 0.2, again 0 to 0.2, 0 to 0.2, 0 to 0.2, right? That way I can create. Now if I want even more partitions, 10 partitions I can go, so this time it is 0 to 0 0.1. See that? Now, if we can make it even more procedural while by adding a value called float value over here, we assign this over here, and then we can assign here 0.1 and we get the same value. What we can do other than that is to, if you don't want to work in decimals and if you want to work in numbers of partitions, let's say I want 10 partitions or I want 20 partitions or something like that, what we can do is we can perform a division, a normal division. So let's say we go math float, we say divide, right? So we divide 1. This float will always be 1 now. We divide 1 and with another float value, which is going to be partitions, and sign this. So I can say 1 divided by 10. Technically, I will get 0.1 answer over here, which I can feed in over here and I get the same. So if I'm looking for 20, I say 20 partition and I get 20 partitions. Now, what I'm getting over here when I do 10 partition, what I'm getting over here is I'm getting a value from 0 to 0.1. Then again it falls in 0 to 0.1. If I want to see, let's see it in this way. How do I show you? Let's have more numbers of lines. Let's say 150. I say displace. I'll use displace modifier and let's give this, and I give 1, maybe 10. See that? 10, maybe 100. You see that? Think this has 1. So from 0 to it goes to 0.1, and then when the remainder, when 0.1 is divided by 0.1, we get the remainder 0, so it comes back to 0 again. Then again the remainder goes from 0.1 0 to 0.1, again it falls, again it falls. But now what we are getting is we are getting from 0 to 0.1. What if I don't want 0 to 0.1? What if I want from 0 to 1, then again falls down, 0 to 1, again falls down? Then, well, we have to use another OSL operator, which is called range remapper. So what I will do is I'll have OSL math float and we say range remapper. Over here, what I will do is I will put an input value of my of my modulo operator, and this is the maximum value of this modulo operator. So I'll put it into the input range end. The moment I do this, and I don't want this now anymore, what I will do is I will assign, let's say this is a good way to do it. Say output, put it over here, and I'll assign an output to my map. And you can see now I'm getting all 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So if I keep this 1 or maybe 10, see that? I'm getting all 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. If you want to see from the visual point of view, what you can see is assign this. Now you can see the color value. It goes from 0 and this is 1. And then again it goes to 0 and 1. Again it goes to 0 and 1. Again it goes to 0 and 1. Right. So this is how we can do partitions. This is how we can create those lines what I created in my video. If I want more partition, I just go 20 and I get more partitions. There is no gradient ramp or anything like that to create those flags and create different partitions. This is the most procedural way you can do. If I want more partition, I get 30, I can go 50 and I get 50 partitions. And all these 50 partitions are from 0 to 1, you know, 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1. Now, what else we can do? Let's say I come back to 10. Now over here you can assign a gradient. Let's say I'll assign an OSL gradient. We'll work with OSL all the time. So we'll say I will assign, let's have an assign OSL. I don't think so this will take in, will it? Yeah, see. So we have this and then we put this out here. See, now what I can do is I can change the thickness. I want the thickness in the center. I can do that. Here 0, we take 0 over here, we put this Y, and there you go, I get soft. See that? Now if I use this as a displacement, suddenly I'm getting this nice curves, you see? Other than that, what else we can do is we can remove this, we can again connect this, let's connect this. We can add OSL, we say math float, and we can go for smooth steps. Smooth steps takes this, it's like low and high of noise. You know, if we go to map, general, and if I say noise over here, sorry, not this. You see high and low? This is exactly the same thing over here. You see that? What I'm getting now? If I take, forget this is not important. If I take this 0.1 and I want this as 0.15, and you can see what I'm getting now. Let's have this also 150 so that we don't have a problem. See that? So we're getting some kind of nice ridges with just simple, just few things like, you know, take a gradient, give it to modulo. There's a division I did, and then give that partitions to the modulo. It will divide the gradient into the number of partitions you assign over here. You put it as an input, put it the division value has an input range, and then it will convert that input to the output range. It will convert that input range into the output range of 0 and 1, which eventually we can give a smooth step to it and we can get it out and we can create something beautiful like this. We can also give a clamp. So let's say I do not do this now. Let's say I give a clamp. So we go OSL math float and we have a clamp. What clamp does, it will clamp the values in that range. So again, we take this view, and if we say I want this clamped down to zero point 0.5 and I want minimum to be clamped up to 0.3, and there you go, we get something more beautiful. See that? It's like a roof, metal roof we see. So you can use clamp, you can use smooth step. This is how I created those patterns. Now what I can do is I can simply change this gradient map out from here. I put OSL Uber noise. Uber noise is one of the finest noise I've ever seen. We give this remove layer distortion, remove step function. We can apply that later. I don't want any iteration. And I go for 50. Let's give a big line. You see that? See the lines I get? So this, how many partitions? We have 10. Let's say I want to increase to 30. See, I get 30 lines now. Which if I directly put in here, oh, we need some more. Say 500 by 500. So you get smoother output, and we can put this over here, and you can see there. See that? Now I can even multiply the intensity of this range remapper with my original noise. What I can do is I can have an OSL math float. I'll multiply this value with this value, and I will create input, and you can see now how it's been generated. If I remove the smooth and I directly put in, you'll come to know the depth. You see that? It has an intensity now. Let's wait a minute. Let me put it better way. Let's put this over here. Let's say 0.5, 2, and 0.4. See the intensity, see how it's gradually growing up. Wherever you see the dark area, it goes down. Wherever you see the bright area, it's up. You can do this way, or you can even remove the areas, like I give a smooth step over here. I take an input over here, I put an output over here, and you can see this is how I created that effect. You know, I created a smooth step, so 0.4, and we can say 0.4, and you can see. So this is how we can create those lines, or any input you give to this, which is from 0 to 1, it will generate. It will this is a whole procedural setup which will create those lines for you. So we need an input, which is noise. We use a mod operator. We create a partitions. We divide one with the partitions, and then use that division value in the mod operator, which eventually will create those division. Then we change the range from we again change the range to 0 and 1, which then we can feed into multiply, which we can multiply with this, or we can directly give out to this, and we can get those small little things. Or you can have an OSL noise, or you can use a gradient ramp over here. If you want to use a gradient ramp, you put it out as a source map, put it in as a map, give a map over here, a simple, put this as white, as black. If you want to give some thickness, you can put it over here. We can have this, and we can give some thickness over here. You can give thickness this way also. See that? Or you can use smooth steps over here and give the same kind of thickness over here, and I'll get the same kind of thickness over here. So this is how I did that whole pattern. Now you can do the same, you can same apply to, let's say I copy this, I can same apply to geosphere also. So I will have a geosphere, let's say 80, give some really good noise of 500, or 200 is the max, sorry. And what I can do is I can have an paste instance and use existing map, and you can see beautiful pattern I can create. You can use V-Ray displacement also, which I have used, which I will show you in a while. See, you can use this nice pattern, and then you can animate the noise over here. If I give some kind of animation of 1, and you can see I will get a noise. See that? I'll get a noise, beautiful noise. See? So friends, this is how you can do this lines in a more easy and procedural way. Unlike the gradient ramp we used to do, right? Like this. You take this, put it inside, you create this small things over here as a black lines. This was a headache. This was literally a headache. How many flags can you create in this? It's crazy. This is the best way I can see. So I would recommend to go in the OSL way. Now let me show you how I created that one. Let's say we get this. Don't save it. So here I used, if you can see, this is the same way I did. I feed in the Uber noise into Modulo. I created partitions which are 40. I used Modulo operate. I've used this division into Modulo. I created partition which went into the range remapper, which converted the range to 0 and 1 again, then gave a color gradient to it, probably kind of a thickness. This is in a smooth step to the noise. Then I multiplied those things, so multiplied the smooth step and the curves to, and created that output. Here I created this blue color output. The reason I created blue color output was because, let's see, because I've used V-Ray displacement mod, and I have used vector displacement tangent. So, blue is basically z-axis, so it takes z-axis from the surface normals basically. It takes surface normals. So that way I created this. So if you see this, and if I do this, you see that? I get this nice and very hard, hard displacement due to that. Other than that, what I created was I duplicated this geosphere, is this, and I use that geosphere in distance map. That's it. I use geosphere in distance map with a distance 0.1, and I changed this, and I gave V-Ray distance map to blend in V-Ray blend material, and you blended two materials, that is a dark and golden, dark and gold, dark gray and golden, and this is how I created these two maps. That's it. this is how the whole thing learned. This is how I created this whole thing. Rendered it out and voila, done. So thank you for watching this tutorial. If you like, do subscribe, and pretty soon I'll be starting my Patreon page and probably going to publish some high quality tutorials over there. So please support me in that scenario and do subscribe on YouTube. Thank you. Hey there. I forgot to mention, but we can also create the same kind of noise, the same kind of pattern through vertex color map also. So for example, let's take this plane. I create, let's say I create something like a text, and we say let's create this and this over here. Let's take a thick one. Let's take thick, this big one, give some kind of thing. Doesn't matter. Create this. Put it in the center. I take this. I'll select I select. Or you can have volume select also. It doesn't matter, but I select is faster. We say mesh. We select this mesh. We get the inside mesh. We have some soft. There is it. Soft selection, and you get this kind of selection. Let's decrease a bit of it. Maybe something like this. Yeah, well, let's go 10 accurate, right? And then we can have a sign color map. Let's say I select 1. I think I can increase this to 50 something. Then what I can do is I can have this general vertex color channel 1, give physical material, you do this and you assign this, oops, sorry, assign this. Let's take this, we did displace right now. Is displace modifier. Let's have a vertex color map over here. 10, 50. Something's odd. Yeah, see that? Use existing. Okay. This is what we get. Now what we do, it's too much. We got 10. Now what else we can do with this is we can then again do the same thing. We can take this math float. I give a modulo, give this out. Again, create this custom float, give this out, have a range remapper. This in here, put this in here, and eventually out to this. Even if we don't keep this, let's just put it over here. Instance, we don't require this. We don't require that. Now we give float and we say 0.1. You see, we get some nice ripples. I can increase this to 500. Plus we can have tie select. We can say we don't want something in the middle. We don't want selection in the middle. Just give this out. We can have this kind of customized solution also. Let's say 0.05. No, not 0.2. Create another float smooth step. Put this inside and get it this to displace. I can say 0.1, maybe I can do 0.8, 0.8, and there you go. We can even generate something like this. We can have this 1, we can have this 0.2, 0.2.3. See that? We can do something like this. So we can even modify the vertex color. We need to find a vertex color and we can do that. You can even animate that by just take this. If I move this up, and you can see how it's animating too. Goes down and it will start creating these gaps, nice ripples. So you can also generate something like this with Modulo. Modulo, you can do anything with Modulo. You can even give some kind of noise over here. So I say 1 strength and you get some weird stuff. 0.05 and let's say 10. See, you can do things, whatever you want to do. So this is also one way of using Modulo with Vertex color map. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.